Testing, testing. It's a pretty chilly one today. Not as cold as Michigan, but what can you say?
Shove that pizza in your mouth quickly, boys. What's up?
Feel free to have some pizza.
I'm good.
All right, y'all.
You ready?
Know when you're ready in the back there. Travis, Dave, you guys good? I'm good. All right, go ahead, Coach.
Well, thanks to everybody that came out to Senior Day. It certainly was a memorable game. Just awfully happy for our seniors to find a way to win that game. I'm sure it's something that they and I will remember for the rest of our lives. And before we move on, I do want to congratulate Tremaine Edmonds on being a finalist for the Buckus Award. You know, I know Virginia Tech's got a lot of history. We have a lot of history of great defensive players and linebackers, and you know, I think Tremaine deserves to be recognized for his play. You know, we forget sometimes how young he is and how far he's come in a short period of time, but he certainly deserves to be mentioned among the nation's elite. Fantastic young man. As good a person or a better person than he even is a player. So happy to get a chance to coach him. We have a tremendous challenge this week. Obviously, it's rivalry week. We've got Virginia on the road. Much improved, completely different football team than we played a year ago. You can see that across the board and how they play. The belief in what they're doing. You know, they're scoring points and throwing the ball down the field. They've got skilled players that can really run and make big plays. Their quarterback's playing at a high level. Defensively, the second year in that system, they've certainly expanded, and kind of the hallmark of Bronco Mendenhall defense is being tough and physical and basing out of a 50 and giving you a variety of other looks. So they're playing really well in all three phases of the game. They're bowl eligible, and we've got to go to their place. So we've got a short week of preparation. We did not work out yesterday. We just got a lift and a run in. We'll practice today a little bit later than normal just to give ourselves a little more prep time and hopefully get ready to go.
Norm.
Coach, just looking back at the video from the game the other day, I think a lot of us, I don't know, I did anyway, missed the fact that Trevon Hill was the guy that actually kind of blew up the left guard and got in the backfield and started Hall, got him redirected to
penetration.
the left a little bit, penetrated. Kind of talk about just how big Trevon was in that spot and just kind of how big he was throughout the game. You know, he got a sack also.
Sure. Well, he's continued to improve. I've been pleased with his development. You know, that play in particular, he did a great job getting off on the ball, kind of punched a hole in the offense, so to speak, in terms of slowing the running back up, making him kind of run the hump there, and allowing the pursuit to catch up. We ended up with a bunch of hats to the ball. But I have been pleased with Trevon as he continues to work hard and get better and play a complete game. You know, not just rushing the passer, but playing against the run. Still has some things to work on. You know, we got upfield a little bit on the shovel pass. That was a big play, but, you know, continues to get better. I think Coach Wiles has done a fantastic job with him in kind of refining his skills and improving his play.
You were new to this rivalry last year, kind of leaned on Charlie and Bud and brought Frank in. Do you have to do something like that similar this year? Do you feel like you've got fully educated about this sort of game?
Well, I mean, I think I have a good appreciation for what this means to the Hokie Nation, to our players. You know, Coach is out of town. I've already figured that out. I talked to Belin yesterday about it. So, Coach is not available, but I'll call anybody in if I think it's going to help. But I think we have a pretty good understanding of it. You know, our focus needs to be on our preparation and the challenge ahead of us. You know, like I said, it's going to be a far different game than it was a year ago. And we're playing a much improved football team that's going to be excited and hungry to play, and we've got to match that.
Travis.
Coach, given that you guys are fairly beat up in some spots, I'm just curious what the difference is going into that Virginia game, sort of on an emotional high that you guys are, as opposed to what it would have been coming in off of 3 losses.
Well, I'm thankful we're not, so I tried not to think about it. But, yeah, I mean, everybody's got guys that are nicked up and beat up. We're not going to use those as excuses. It's just the facts of the matter. You know, hopefully we'll get a guy or two back this week. But, you know, this is I have a feeling that this game is the type of game that both sides get up for regardless of what's happened. I don't think you know, I don't think you need any extra motivation for this one. I think everybody understands what it means, and you got to get – it's kind of all hands on deck. Whoever you've got's got to be ready to go play at a high level.
Last week you sort of said good and bad with Josh Jackson's play lately. I assume that's sort of the same after that last week. How do you assess how he played on Saturday?
Well, I was a little disappointed in a couple of things that happened around him. You know, we had a couple opportunities for big plays. We had an interception that was not his fault at all. So I was a little disappointed in a couple things that happened around him that could have helped him play better. That doesn't mean that he was perfect. I mean, we had a chance with a big play with Phil down the sideline or early in the game there. Had a chance to be a big play, didn't quite get it. And so, yeah, I think he continues to improve. I still feel the same way I felt when we started, to be honest with you. I feel like continuing to focus on the guys around him as Josh continues to improve and feel more comfortable is going to be important. Josh has got to focus on making the average play on a consistent basis, and the big plays will come. And we've got to have an offensive staff that does a great job getting the guys around him to play well. I mean, we're playing a redshirt freshman quarterback. The guys around him need to step up and produce as well.
Coach, first of all, congratulations on the win on Saturday. Just got to ask you, with this rivalry game, how special is it to see that both teams are having successful seasons and are bowl eligible going into this rivalry game?
Well, I think it's great for the state. I think it's great says a lot about football in this state. You look at the the quality of 1AA football. I know I don't call it that anymore, but I have 8 years of 1AA experience, so I think I get to call it 1AA football. But the quality of play from top to bottom, in this state, I think it speaks volumes for it. And it's just rising tide floats all boat. It's good for our league, and we'll make for a fantastic game. And there's a reason the game got moved back in the day on Friday, so more people in the region and across the country can watch it.
I know you're not a huge fan of injury updates, but obviously Mook and Vinny
What
had
you're
that.
going to ask anyway?
Mook and Vinny went down on that. I think it was the play that Reggie made the game-saving tackle. What can you tell us about Mook and Vinny there, and what is their status for this
Not
week?
much. We'll know more a little bit later on today.
He's got a pretty darn good vertical threat this year in Lerone, who's averaging us 21 yards a catch, and Banker's got a pretty darn good arm. How concerning is that combination?
Well, certainly. I mean, you watch them against very good people throw and complete balls down the field. The Georgia Tech game, I think they hit 3 or 4 go balls. Last week, they came out and got behind a fast Miami team. So they are going to push it down the field. They're going to take shots, and it's a part of more so than just doing it. They are good at it. They're completing those things. I mean, anybody can just heave it down the field, but they're making people pay, and it's certainly a part of what we'll have to be ready for.
Jalen Holston has looked more comfortable in the offense the last couple of weeks. As a former running backs coach yourself, can you speak to that, how big of an adjustment that was going from the wing tee offense to your type of offense?
Well, I think he would have had an adjustment anywhere. I guess maybe if he'd have gone to Georgia Tech and played the fullback position, it would have been a little bit easier for him. But about any offense, I think was going to be different for him. The thing about Jalen is he's a very conscientious person. He does extra work to try and figure things out. Being correct is important to him, which sounds like a small thing, but that's not the case with everybody. He likes to know what's going on out there and kind of be in control, and he wants to play. And I really felt like, or hoped and felt that as we went through the season, he would become more comfortable and play a bigger role, and that's kind of come to fruition here the last several weeks. I think it would have happened a couple weeks earlier had he not had that, had he not gotten sick there about a quarter of the way through the year. It kind of set him back, but just pleased with the transition he's made. He's becoming a bigger part of what we're doing.
Anybody else for Coach?
Was Trayvon McMillan a little nicked up last week?
Yeah, I didn't practice much. Towards the end of the week, practiced a little more. Kind of basically said, Trayvon, let's get you out there, see how you feel. He felt okay, but I still didn't really want to push it, so I would anticipate he'll be fine.
How much of injuries at that running back position sort of held you back, at least in terms of consistency, from having somebody each week kind of produce?
Well, I mean, it's certainly been a little bit of a revolving door. Like I know we've talked about that I don't care who's carrying it and all that kind of stuff. And if we had one dominant person, I would leave one dominant person back there. But between the injuries, guys getting beat up, it's been a good thing that those guys are all invested in what's going on. They've all gotten playing time. They've all contributed to it. The one that comes to my mind is Steven, though. I really, when you go back and look at the very first game of the year and watch him run the football, I mean, he was a force running the ball in his carries, and I really anticipated that expanding as it went along, and it just hasn't, because he's just not been able to play as much. So, hopefully moving forward, he'll get back and be able to contribute. But on one hand, it's nice that those guys have all jumped in there and filled in. On the other hand, it has been a little bit of a revolving door due to guys getting beat up.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Coach Foster
You bet.
up next.
Thank you.
Coach.
Mm-hmm.
seniors. I mean, just finished their last game the way they did. Made it exciting, that's for sure, but it's time to turn the page, but really excited for them. Also, it's pretty cool to see today that Tremaine Edmonds was named one of the 5 finalists for the Butkus Award. You know, we've had a couple guys that have been recognized in the past, but I don't know if we've had one, considered as highly, and it'd be pretty cool if, if he could get that thing. But I know he's in some stiff competition, but he's that caliber player, so that'd be pretty exciting, pretty happy for him. And our program, it makes a statement about our program and our defense. But
all right, raise your hands. Get your microphone.
What is different this year, you think, out of Kurt Bankert, a quarterback?
Well, I think it's a couple things. I think obviously another year in an offense, being more experienced within that offense, understanding the offense and where he needs to go with the ball, and another year under a coordinator's mindset and direction. And you just see a guy that's playing with a lot of confidence. He's always had good ability, and I was surprised we didn't see him as much last year. And then when he was in, they kind of handed the ball off. It wasn't a big passing game, but he's got a live arm, tremendous accuracy, very capable with the ball in his hands as far as great pocket presence, and I just think really playing at a high level right now. But I think that a big part of it is a year, and 2 years now in the system, and understanding what the expectations are.
Coach, first of all, congratulations on the win on Saturday. It's going to ask you, I mean, you've been coaching in this rivalry for a few years. What's your fondest memory of going up against UVA?
That's hard to say. There's been so many games. I mean, obviously one of the early ones was when we beat them here on Thanksgiving night, when they had Sean Moore and Herman Moore, and they were ranked extremely high, and we were just trying to get our program established here. And but that really kind of we had lost a couple games there early in our tenure here, and that kind of got us going back in this rivalry. And I think there's been some tremendous battles, and I fully expect that one to be there this week. Obviously, they were on prime time on Friday night, and Virginia's a much better football team this year than they were a year ago. They've got some dynamic, skilled kids, particularly at receiver, and I know they've got a veteran defense at some spots, and just playing with a lot of confidence and playing extremely well right now. We're going to have to go play a heck of a football game. But just this game means so much as far as recruiting and in-state bragging, and I know particularly with the fans in particular. This game for the last several years has meant a lot to us because it's catapulted us potentially for a championship game or a championship period, and so it's obviously played a bigger role these last 13, 14 years than it maybe did the previous time when we were just rivals. Now rivals with a a determining factor, I think, makes a big difference.
That's Justin, this too. They've got a pretty darn good connection as far as the vertical threat's concerned with Bankert and LeBron. How much of a concern is that? Those two kind of hooking up, LeBron averaging 21 yards a catch.
Yeah, no, I tell you, he's really an explosive athlete, long, dynamic guy down the field, and Bankert can get the ball to him. Yeah, I mean that's a concern, just like it is anybody. But I mean it's you play with anybody, but. I'm sure they're going to take their shots down the field against us, and particularly if we've got a group that's beat up a little bit, I think they're going to take their shots. But we'll devise a plan to hopefully help our guys out, and we still do have two pretty good corners, and I like how those guys have played the last few weeks, and. We kind of know what we're going to expect. I think we're going to expect some shots down the field. That's what they do right now. I mean, they're going to mix in some run, and they do a nice job with that. But where they're having their success is throwing the ball down the field, and we've got a limit the explosive plays that they have. Particularly if they're going to be, we got to eliminate them from being explosive plays in the end zone.
Ladler's a guy we haven't heard a whole lot out of this year, and he's in on 2 of the stops on the 4th down play there. What have you seen out of him this season, sort of growth-wise, and do you expect more of him this week?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Boots
obviously
available?
he's a play away from being the guy like everybody, and it's just a credit to Khalil, him working the game, him being in the game as far as in his mindset and that type of thing, and understanding. I mean, he knew the formation that they were in the last play, and knew what we could anticipate the play that they were going to run, and he played that way. And that's a credit to him and Coach Scott and his preparation. But he's a guy that has improved throughout. And every time he stepped in the game, he's always performed. And I fully expect him, if he's going to play a bigger role this week, I fully expect him to excel. I mean, that's what we expect, but he's improved and has been steady, and I think he's at the right spot for us. And that's when we made that move. I think that's the best fit for him and for us.
It's not as if Mook has never played back there in the secondary, and not like you haven't experimented with that shuffle like you had. But what was your assessment of sort of a more permanent for this season anyway? Look at that shuffle.
Well,
Dion in there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think going into after the game, that position ties you up a little bit more than what the nickel spot does as far as coverage and things of that nature. And he got a taste of it on a regular basis. He's done it. He's filled in certain times during the course of the year, but to do it for 60+ plays, he had not done that. But the best teacher's experience, and that was a great learning experience for him. And this will be an important week of practice for him, and continue to play that spot and the little nuances of the position and maybe checks and things of that nature that that he's been involved with. But now he's the guy that has to make those calls, but he's got the tools to do that.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right, gang. Hey, happy Thanksgiving to y'all.
You too, sir.
Thank you, you too.
Josh.
You are a Michigander. Do you understand the full scope of the Virginia Tech rivalry? Has it been hammered home to you at this point?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been hammered in, I guess you could say, especially from last year. Just the talk that goes into it, I guess, from at least from Virginia last year, and then the seniors kind of harping on to you about how big the game is and how serious it is, especially the alumni and everybody around. It's a pretty big week.
Raise your hand. We'll get you a microphone.
How do you think you played on Saturday?
Like I said, not as good as I wanted to. There's a couple throws I missed, and I wish I could have back and everything like that. But we won, which is makes me feel a lot better about myself, I guess. But yeah, it would have felt a lot worse if we would have lost the game. But yeah, no, definitely some things I could have done better.
You're more effective in the running game than you had been in a while against Pitt. You feeling healthier now? It seemed like you were pretty banged up there for a while.
Yeah, no, I was pretty banged up after the Miami game, and then Georgia Tech. They didn't really let me run the ball. But this week, yeah, I feel fine. So, and now I feel even better.
Just talking with Fuente a second ago, I'm sure he's told you. He said there was some good and some bad with your play, and he probably tells that to a lot of people. But he said what he wants the most out of you, having seen you through 11 games now, is just for you to be more consistent on the average plays, I guess, as opposed to the extraordinary ones that are more complicated. Is that sort of the way you look at it too? Do you feel like you need to be more consistent on just on an average play from down to down?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely say I could always get better. Trying to think of the plays. I know I missed some big plays. Phil, I missed, and that's the one I'd say I missed. And then Cam, when I was rolling out, I just didn't judge that throw very well, how hard I was running, and the ball kind of just sailed out onto the sideline. But, yeah, definitely just get better at those type of plays will make me a better quarterback.
Speaking of Phil, he's gotten more involved the last couple of weeks. What does he bring to the table that might be different than some of the other receivers?
Say he's kind of like a Coonwood, maybe a little bit smaller, but he's definitely a lot faster, I guess. But, he's very athletic. He's got good hands, and I think he'll start to have a big impact on this offense from now going into the next couple of years.
Not that you can remember this, but 17 years ago or so, your dad was a candidate for the UVA job.
Really?
Yeah. That answers my second question. Were you aware of that? Did you know that at all?
No, my dad got a lot of job offers over the years, but he kind of just stayed home. Kind of my mom, why we didn't go anywhere, but yeah.
I don't know how far it got, but I know he was on the list and
really?
how lengthy it was. But
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. Yeah.
Anyone else for Josh? Going once, going twice. All right. Going on 2.5.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. This is a perfect time, actually.
Coach Foster was in there, and he said that on that final fourth down play, he said that you knew the formation, you recognized it immediately, and you were able to kind of get there. Just walk us through that play and how big that was for you as a guy who obviously hasn't played a ton this year.
Well, we practiced it all week, the different formations they showed, and when my number was called, I just went out there and executed.
Obviously, you tore your ACL as a senior in high school, right? How difficult was that coming back from that injury, adjusting to college, and changing positions all kind of at the same time?
It's all the process, you know. I just worked through it and just did my rehab and just stayed with the process. And the coaches put me in the right position to do what I had to do to help the team out, and that's just how that went.
I forget, what is sort of your position history here? Did you play cornerback at all when you were redshirting, or have you always been at the safety spots?
I started off at corner, and then in spring of this past spring, I moved to safety.
Was it always rover or free safety, or are they pretty
Both.
interchangeable?
Both rover and free safety.
How do you like that position? You just feel like it suits you better?
It's more of a you're in the box more, like you're gonna be like on run fits and pass at the same time. Instead of corner, you just focus on the man, and that's in pass.
Anybody else for Khalil?
Know anything about this Tech UVA rivalry? I mean, obviously you got your first taste for last year. I mean, have they fully educated you on the importance of this thing?
Just they don't like us, and we don't like them, so that's just how that goes.
All right. Thank you, Khalil.
Amazing. Why didn't we request him this week?
Just going back to last week, it seemed like that was a pretty emotional game. Can you just kind of describe the feelings afterward? It looked like you took a moment at midfield after the game.
Yeah, just a lot of different emotions going through, my body at the time. shoot, I was hyped like 2 seconds before that. Before, I just I just broke down crying. I mean, it was. I don't know. I just don't know how to explain in words. Just the feeling of just going out like that on my last game in Lane. So.
Are you a guy who gets like that a lot, or did that surprise you?
Yeah, I don't usually get like that. So like maybe if we would have lost the game, I probably wouldn't have cried. But just like pouring my whole heart out into that, and kind of, I don't know, just that feeling was, I don't know, just indescribable.
You guys had some trouble stopping the Pitt rushing attack the last few years. What was different this time around?
I don't think anything was too much different. We anytime we play a team like that, it's all about being gap sound and fundamentally sound. And I think guys, the young guys definitely stepped up and just showed that they cared about us as a senior class and trying to send us out the right way. So, you saw guys all across the board just making plays and just trying to be the best they could.
You guys obviously have a 13-game winning streak against Virginia. I know it goes without saying you don't want to be the class that has that streak in, but do you feel, just based on what you've seen and maybe what you've studied from Virginia so far, I don't know how much that is, but that maybe this is the biggest threat that you've had thus far from the Virginia team?
They definitely look good. And you see, when you watch film and stuff like that, they play every single team real close. And so I think, it's a different Virginia team. But this game is all about pride and, just pride of, Virginia Tech, pride of, just that streak and just holding down. We're playing for more than just ourselves and the streak. We're playing for, the past players that have come through and, who started this streak and stuff like that. So it's a lot on the line. But we're up for the challenge, and we're gonna get some good work this week.
Anybody else for Drew?
I forget how long you were in Virginia Beach, living down there. What is sort of your history with this rival? Were you a fan of either team when you were down there before you got recruited by Virginia Tech?
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of either team, to be honest. When I was in high school playing football, I wasn't even thinking about playing college football. Well, I just was out there just trying to, be good. And that, I don't know, it's kind of hard because ever since I was young, I wanted to play rugby and be a professional rugby player. So, when I started actually like falling in love with the sport and just everything that it came with, I started taking pride in actually being good and stuff like that. And school started noticing me, and Virginia Tech offered me, and that's how I got here. But Virginia never offered me, and they never really talked to me, looked at me, or anything like that. And so I kind of used that, put that, play with a chip on my shoulder as far as that, and looking forward to playing them.
When did it kind of hit home how much this rivalry means? I mean, I would imagine sometimes during your freshman year here, but was there a moment or something like, oh, okay, this is how serious this rivalry is?
I think my redshirt freshman year, when we first came out of the tunnel, it was a night game here in Lane, and both teams met up at like midfield, and we were just all talking trash, and that's when I knew this game was, a big rivalry game. And I played against a lot of those guys in high school. A lot of those guys are from the 757 as well, so I knew about them as well coming here, and so it was cool to play against those guys. And there's still some guys there that are from the hometown, and that's probably when it really showed me the rivalry, how big it was when we came out and we met up at the 50-yard line and stuff like that.
Anybody else for Drew?
Anything you remember them saying that you can actually tell us from that meeting at the?
I really don't remember. I remember the ref telling me if I don't step back, he's gonna kick me out. So I took some steps back, but I still was talking trash.
Made your impression.
Yeah. So.
All right. Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
I'm doing well.
Kinda let it clear up a bit. All right. Questions for Deshaun?
Were you expecting that big of a role in the second half Saturday, and how do you feel like you did?
Yeah, I was expecting that role. Coach Zahn let it be known that he planned on playing me a little bit later on in the game. So I just wanted to stay warm and dialed into the game and just be prepared to be tossed in at any time, to be honest. And I thought I did okay. Could have been better. Could have been a lot better. I actually tripped like 2 or 3 times on like what could have been big runs. So yeah, I could have been better.
You guys obviously like to spread the carries out, and there's a lot of changing at the running back position. As a guy who is coming in later in the game, how hard is it to stay in tune and stay in rhythm with the defense, even though you're not out in the field until maybe the second half?
I mean, it's a little bit difficult, but those guys that do play earlier in the game, like they give me a lot of feedback on the sideline. Like I ask them a lot of questions. I'll ask them like, what do you see? Like, are they overflowing? Are they like fitting gaps? So we do a pretty good job communicating in the running back meeting room. So I pretty much know what's going on.
After you were essentially a non-factor and didn't even get to play that much at all
Mm.
against Georgia Tech, and like you said, you wait until mostly the second half to make an impact this past weekend. Would you say you were particularly hungry to get out there and actually do something and try to work your way back up the depth chart, such as it is? It's
Mhm.
hard to tell what the depth chart is with you guys. But
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, I just try to make the best of every carry that I get, to be honest. I mean, every week it kind of changes. Like, you never know who's going to be in, who's going to be starting the game, or who's going in second or even third. So you just have to be prepared at all times.
that's kind of piggybacking off of that. Like, how do they kind of work that in practice? I mean, do you guys even worry about a depth chart anymore? Do they let you know the day of the game? Do they let you know at the hotel the night before how the rotation's going to go? Or is it just kind of wait until the first series and see who trots out there?
To be honest, I really don't know. Like, we all actually like get the same amount of reps in practice. Like we alternate with like 1s and 2s. So you really don't know. You just have to be prepared. And once you get your chance, like, coach tends to like leave in whoever gets going early. Like, he tends to leave you in, and pretty much let you do what you do.
So it's pretty much right before the series you'll find out.
You'll pretty much find out, yeah.
Did Virginia recruit you at all?
I don't think so.
Well, you would know, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I ended up getting like a lot of offers my senior year that I didn't even know about. So I was already committed, of course, and of course I wasn't going to decommit to go to Virginia. So it wouldn't have mattered if they offered me or not. Like, I was never really interested in Virginia.
You're a guy from down in 757.
Mhm.
What is your history with this rivalry? Were you a fan of either team growing up, or did that kind of come later once you committed to Tech?
Oh yeah, growing up, I've always liked Virginia Tech. I was always a fan of Virginia Tech, and when I was in about 6th grade, I remember my grandma actually bought me a Virginia Tech lamp, and I was like, oh, this is a cool lamp. Like, cool. Like, I wasn't even, like, serious about football then, and then, like, it's crazy because I still, like, I look at that lamp every day now in my house. So it's kind of weird, but I was never a fan of UVA, to be honest. I was of Virginia Tech, and I liked the Florida Gators, like, growing up, so, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, man, but were you a little bit different because of that in your high school team? It seemed like you got a lot of UVA type, and Perry and all those guys, sort of UVA centric guys in your program. You know, I don't remember an awful lot of Tech guys.
Right. To be honest, I didn't really like. They never really tried to steer me in any direction. Like when they were around the program, and, like practices and games and stuff, we never really talked about like me going to UVA or anything like that. Like Perry Jones and Tim Smith, and of course I played with Andrew, and they never really tried to like steer me that way. I guess I kind of let it be known that I wasn't really interested in UVA.
Last Saturday was really the most efficient the running game has been. What was really different about the running game that you guys were able to get in a rhythm and churn out 4, 5, 6 yards on a consistent basis?
Well, I thought for the most part, like our O-line did a great job moving bodies, and Don Keene and Chris, once again, like they did a pretty good job moving bodies, and I was able to make cuts off of those guys. And there were times where the holes were like wide open, and you just pretty much have to do what a running back does, and that's just hit the holes, and everything else that comes after that, you just do what you do.
Anybody else for Deshaun? All right, please. Thank you.
No problem. Thank y'all.
Have you been a part of a goal line stand like that, in a stakes like that kind of game?
I don't think so, man. You know, just sitting back and thinking about it and watching the film, that was one hell of a stand. That was a pretty good job by us.
What's the communication like before? I mean, because you've got seconds after Reggie tracks that guy down,
right.
And then you've got to line up and get ready, and you know you're not going to have much time in between plays. What's the communication like between Coach Foster and the 11 guys that got to run out there and do that? I mean, is there much talking going on, or do you just kind of have to go on instinct and keep your ears open for calls from whoever, Andrew or whoever else is making?
There's not much talking. You know, we just trying to hurry up and get lined up and look over and get the call from Bud and execute. And you know, I think we talked. It was after the timeout or something, or whenever they was reviewing the play. You know, we talked about it, and you know, we had to hold on to the rope. You know, don't let go. And I think that's what we did. We did a pretty good job.
Hall had come into that game rushing for about 500 yards over his last 3 games, and you guys had struggled to stop the run against Pitt the last few years. What was different about this year? How'd you guys shut him down like that?
You know, that's funny. That's our goal going into every game: stop the run. You know, that's Coach Foster preaches that since I've been here, and you know, that's our goals each game is attacking line of scrimmage, and I think we did a good job up front of doing that. I know after they scored on that little fake whatever they did, I don't know what it was. And then whenever they was reviewing it, you know, I was on the field and I went up to number 22. I said, man, is that how y'all got to score against us? You know, you got to fake something, man. You know, it was kind of annoying, man, because you know Georgia Tech faked a punt on us last week, so it's 2 weeks in a row. You know, teams got to do stuff like that to I guess win or try to win. You know, going against a great defense like that, but yeah, you know, we did a good job because 22 was pretty good. You know, he's definitely a typical Pitt running back. You know, in the history of the backs, and I think he did a pretty good job.
I'm sure when you're in the middle of it, you can't notice what other guys around you are doing, but when you're watching video of that final play where Trayvon kind of blows up the left guard and pushes him back in the hole and forces him out to just a giant cluster of you guys over there.
Yeah.
Do you guys, when you guys slap him on the head, you kind of like, I mean, what's the reaction like?
Right.
You guys all see that?
People don't really realize that until you watch the film. Everybody gave credit to the guys who made the tackle, but once you turn the film on and Trayvon, he stole the snap, beat it good. He caused penetration and caused him to slow down. So to Coach Foster and Coach Wiles, Trayvon was definitely the factor of that play.
Do you guys make a big deal about that in the film room when you see it, or is it?
In the D-line room, but I guess in defense and everybody else, they probably wouldn't really see that. But as a D-line, and that's the first thing I said. That's the first thing because I saw him. I said, man, that's a great pinch. You know what he did? That's a way to slow it down. So I think in the D-line room, it was a pretty big deal.
You told him that on the field, that was a great pinch?
Yeah, because I saw the replay. And it was after the game when I saw it on Twitter. I said, oh, man, that's a great play because we did that because of you, So that's a good play.
You've played in 2 of these Virginia games before. Is this a
Yeah.
different kind of game? Does it have a different feel when you're out there?
Actually, it is. It's just something about UVA week, man. The weather is always colder. Just a little more bounce in practice. Everybody's more energetic and just want to keep that cup in Blacksburg. Just being from 757, guys go to UVA and guys come to Tech, but it's a reason why guys come here. Because it's 13 years in a row. The cup stayed in Blacksburg, and it's going to be fun. I know a couple guys on that team. Friday night prime time, it gets no better than this.
Going off that question, in this kind of rivalry, knowing how good they've been this season, do you guys get a little more amped up knowing you're going to a very hostile environment on Friday?
That's definitely a plus. UVA is doing pretty good this year, but even if they was 1-10, it would be a hyped up week just because of who they are and the rivalry and all that. But I feel like UVA is going to play their best game, so we got to be ready for that. And to us, we got to come out, execute, and just play Virginia Tech football.
Do you and Rio talk trash this week?
Actually, I didn't talk to him yet. I found out that he's coming home to the game. He wanted to be a surprise, but my dad messed that up. So, yeah, he didn't talk. We didn't talk yet, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna send a text message or so, and we'll find out.
So, do you guys talk pretty regularly, and you feel like you haven't talked this week because of the game, or is
Nah.
it just the way it goes?
I don't talk to him every day. We talk every other day, so far he didn't hit me with anything yet.
How does that usually go between the two of you guys?
For the past 2 years, he'll hit me with a text or two, and he'll wear his gear on game day and all that. But after the game, he'll talk to me, but before the game, he probably usually won't.
Given your brother's history with UVA, were you a UVA fan at any point, or what's sort of your fandom growing up?
Well, growing up, everybody has that dream school, and my dream school was actually Florida State. But since my brother went to Virginia, I was definitely a Virginia fan. I was just going with him because my brother, supporting him. I remember those guys. They went down to Florida State, beat Florida State, and all that. Coach London, and they was doing pretty good. So I could actually say for 4 years I was a fan of Virginia. But then once around my junior, senior year, once I found out that Virginia Tech was, I was getting closer to Tech, and I definitely became a Hokie fan.
All right. Anybody else for Ricky? All right. Andrew's going to grab you quick. And we've got head wrestling coach Tony Roby.
Yeah, I guess just first off, thanks for coming. Obviously, we've got a big event coming up this Saturday. We wrestle Missouri, who at that time will probably be ranked number 4 in the country in the Moss Arts Center at 6 p.m. So really excited about the opportunity that we have as a program here to wrestle Missouri, probably the best team that we've faced since Penn State came into Castle Coliseum 3 or 4 years ago at home. So it's going to be a great matchup, great environment. We've got about less than 200 tickets left to sell, so excited about the opportunity. The season up to this point has gone pretty well. We're 3-0 with wins over Stanford, Tennessee, Chattanooga, and then last night over number 17 Central Michigan. So, it's been a good start to the season. Excited to see where things go.
Coach, when you and I talked before the season, it seemed like you were trying to temper expectations a little bit. It seemed like you wanted to keep a realistic set of expectations on the season. Do you feel like you guys have maybe overachieved so far this year, or maybe surprised yourself with how good the team has been so far?
Well, I think as much as anything, we're starting 5 freshmen out of 10 weight classes. So 50% of our lineup is freshmen. We've never seen these guys compete on a consistent basis against top-tier Division I talent. So, to be quite honest, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew what to expect out of the other 5 weight classes, and I think in some cases we've exceeded expectations at 133 in some other places. But I'm pleasantly, I don't want to say surprised, but I feel good about the way our freshmen have developed throughout the course of this fall and into the season. And even since our first match at Stanford, I feel like our coaching staff and our assistant coaches have done an unbelievable job pinpointing areas where these guys need to improve and get better, and then helping them get better in those areas. So I wouldn't say I was tempering expectations as much as we just didn't really know what to expect with such a young team. But I feel good about where we are currently moving forward, and we'll see. I might not feel that way after Saturday. We've got our work cut out for us. Missouri is a great program.
Coach, first I just want to ask you, now that this is your first full year as being the head coach, how have things been going for you personally overall taking over the program?
It's been a great transition for me. I feel like, the main thing and my number one priority was to hire a great staff, and I think any head coach will tell you that. So felt like, with the support of WIT and the athletic department, we were able to secure some great assistant coaches immediately. And once we kind of developed some continuity, got those guys moved down here, living in town, the transition has gone really, really well. Felt like it was a position that I was ready for. I learned a lot from Coach Dresser, working with him for 12 years. So, I'm 43 years old now. You kind of outgrow the role of being assistant coach in our sport because you're on the mat a lot as an assistant coach. And as you get older, that gets a lot more difficult to do. So that's something that I've passed along a lot of those responsibilities to Coach Molinaro, Coach Freyer, Coach Graff, and Coach Wall. So, the transition has gone really, really well. And, I'm excited about the culture that we've been able to create and maintain, and excited about the future. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Doing good, buddy. How are you?
Doing all right.